Back once again with Erica Brown, the publisher and editor of The Cricket over in Manchester and Essex. How you doing, Erica?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Good.
Doing
Yeah,
great.
Corey.
All right.
Corey, I have to say before we start, it was great seeing you at the Magnolia Farmers Market last week.
Yeah, that was a good time. All along
It was a
Lexington
really
Avenue.
good time.
Every
Every
Sunday.
Sunday now they opened it back up, and it was a really fun time. They closed down Lexington Avenue, and I get to see Corey and a bunch of great people. It was fantastic.
Yeah, Erica and I were having a drink, and then all of a sudden Taylor Bradford walked by and
Yeah.
said hello.
Oh,
That
I
was
missed
pretty fun.
it.
Yeah. It's the first time the three of us had been in the same area before.
Yeah, like
Which was-
ever.
Fantastic.
That was really
great.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Erica, we got a big decision this week on outdoor dining in Manchester.
Yeah, Manchester has had sort of this pressure leading towards the decision on outdoor dining. One of the reasons is that the Board of Selectmen several months ago, when they started to feel the pressure from restaurateurs who want to continue outdoor dining, they decided to kind of punt and do this monthly. So they're going to make a monthly decision. So this was the first month that they had to kind of revisit it, and so therefore everyone was kind of ready for it. A lot of people attended the meeting. It was a Monday meeting. Nearly everybody who spoke at the meeting was in favor of it. But in all fairness, that's probably because they knew it was coming and they were girding themselves. But here's what happened. They came to a compromise, which I think is kind of interesting. The cordoned off parking spaces, they're going to be done as of July the 11th. So we're going to get through the July 4th holiday with outdoor dining the way we have come to know it since, well, March 2020 at the beginning of COVID. Of course, all of these outdoor dining things with the redeployed parking spaces are because of, it was supposed to make up for the social distancing and the fact that restaurants couldn't really operate at full capacity. So it was a way of making up for it. The problem was it was taking away parking spaces from retailers, and parking's been a long, big, painful history in Manchester. So this was sort of the one side and then the other. So here's what they decided. They decided, as I said, they're going to stop outdoor dining as we have come to know it as of July the 12th. But then they came up with a compromise and they said until August, mid-August, what they're going to allow is restaurants can submit plans for sidewalk dining. So a sidewalk, option to have limited seats outdoors, as long as there's a 3 foot clearance that I imagine is ADA related, for the passage of people. I mean, of course, it's for the passage of pedestrians on the sidewalk because that's what the sidewalk's for. But I think the 3 feet is, I would imagine, for ADA, but I haven't confirmed that. But there you go. That's the decision. So then they're going to revisit it monthly still. So we'll see what happens. The truth is, people really like outdoor dining. The proponents said two things. Number one, they said, listen, it helps retailers. And I actually really see that point. People come and they wind through Manchester and it doesn't look dead. It looks vibrant. It looks really fantastic when people are outside. It's almost a little European. Or my office used to be in the north end of Boston. Kind of reminds me of that. But anyway, so people like that. The other point that was kind of interesting, and I wouldn't have thought of it if somebody didn't say it, is that for kids who haven't been vaccinated yet, outdoor dining is a great option for families. So for super young kids under 12 who have not been able to get vaccinated, let's not forget about them.
Gotcha. Yeah, and Manchester's a great spot for outdoor dining.
Yeah.
Okay, Erica, let's talk about a time-honored tradition in the Boston Post cane.
Oh my goodness. That was kind of an interesting story because several years ago in 2019, I had done a piece in the Cricket, a sort of a front page story on Pat Harrington, who was 105 years old over in Essex, and she was given the Boston Post cane. I had no idea what the tradition was, but I learned about it that way. It's an interesting way to learn about it because I learned that it was started in 1909. There was a Boston publisher of the Boston Post who had 700 canes, and ebony was the wood, and then on the top a hand furled gold top, 14 karat gold. It's really beautiful, and it was given to 700 municipalities in New England. There are only 400 left. You know why? Because they would give them to them, and instead of giving them back for the next person, the families didn't understand that this actually belonged to their town, their municipality, to honor the oldest citizen in that town. And often it was buried or lost with the holders. So 700 is now about 400. And typically it's given to the oldest male. So the fact that I learned about it in Essex, where they give it to the oldest resident, regardless of gender, was kind of a good way for me to learn about it, because Manchester has had this time honored tradition as well, but it only goes to the male, the eldest male. Well, Dee Burrows, I don't know if you remember doing a piece on her. She turned 100 last year, and she turned 100 right before, I believe, she voted in the U.S. election.
That's right. That's
right. Which I love that. 100 years old. She was so proud. And then we have Gordon McDougal, who is the cane holder, and he's 98 years old. So
just a baby.
Exactly. I mean, he was boasting that he was still driving, like around, offered to give me a ride. He comes into the office quite regularly. Anyway, so here's the reason why it's continued male in Manchester. It's because the Elder Brethren, which is a fraternal organization that has what's called the Old Man's Picnic or the Old Man's Party, at Tux Point, they were actually connected with creating Tux Point and making that into a park. Since the 1800s, the late 1800s, they've been giving their own award. So when this award came out in 1909, they sort of took it over as theirs. And that's why it was sort of stuck in what I'd call guy land. So the I'll finish it off quickly. The Elder Brethren came to the BOS last week and said, listen, we've thought long and hard about it. We would like to give the cane to the town so that it can be for the oldest resident, which is really lovely. But they thought it through, and they came up with an interesting compromise. So maybe compromise is the theme of the day this week, because they're going to have now 2 awards. The Elder Brethren is going to have a cane. The Hood family, which is an old family here, they have apparently they have quite a famous cane collection. Who knew? And it's up at Dartmouth College up in New Hampshire. So they donated a cane to the Elder Brethren so that they can give a cane to the oldest male, and they can continue that tradition. They've designed 2 certificates or emblems, and they kind of look like each other, the Boston Post cane and the Elder Brethren. And the original cane is now going to live at the Manchester Historical Museum, where it will go to the oldest resident starting next year.
Very nice.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
I love that story. It's almost progressive.
It's progressive, and it's kind of nice that it came from the Elder Brethren. And, I'm one of those people that I really like traditions, and I don't have a problem with gender specific traditions. I like fraternal organizations, keep the guys together. Sometimes that's a good thing. And then the women have their own things too, and I like this story, and I like the fact that this came from the Elder Brethren, and it just feels right.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And that's someone else who we met at the Magnolia Farmers Market, Erica, was Mike Chapman from the Elder Brethren.
Exactly. He has been involved with the Elder Brethren for a really long time. I don't know this actually, but I suspect he may have been a connection because he went to Dartmouth. I know he did. Mm-hmm. He might have been the connection, although that is utterly unconfirmed.
Well, there is the Hood Museum at Dartmouth.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. So that's
okay.
So lastly, Erica, we noticed you've had a lot of gorgeous pictures in the paper lately, and no exception this week with graduation.
Yeah, the graduation kind of was this kind of break moment where kind of everyone around said, oh my gosh, this is the first kind of milestone that we can really do. And it also lends itself to being outdoors anyway, because graduation here in Manchester is typically, Manchester and Essex, typically outside. So it was outside with some beautiful photographs, and some of the highlights, I would say, happened before graduation. The kickoff to graduation was the senior car parade, which the car parade, I think, is a thing now that's going to be associated with COVID. It was a national phenomenon, and these cars, and it was what I call bringing the mountain to Muhammad, where graduation actually spun through the towns, and people got to go out and greet their own graduates. And they didn't really have a graduation ceremony. They had a teeny one last year. I'll bet this tradition continues. I'll bet it sticks because it's so loved.
It's a good one. It's happened in Gloucester and Rockport forever. So, and I remember Manchester did this for the 4th of July parade last year, right? It was basically a drive-by.
Yeah, they're going to do a similar thing this year, although their plans are kind of interesting to watch people change up their original plans. There wasn't supposed to be any parade for 4th of July. There may be something in terms of alternate things going on. Red, white, and blue breakfast is happening. But the idea of the parade, the house parade, was really interesting, where people decorated their houses instead of having floats.
Well, I have to send a congratulations to Abby Conway, who graduated in the senior class. So congratulations to her. Great kid, going to go on and do great things.
Abby Conway, as a matter of fact, it's one of the last memories before we went into lockdown. She's quite a powerful girl. She had a really interesting political forum that she hosted just before the lockdown. I think it was probably the last event at school or related to the school before shutdown. So congratulations, Abby.
Awesome. Yeah, we should all be watching for her.
Exactly.
And Erica, you mentioned Pat Harrington earlier in the show, right?
Yeah.
Also, Pat Harrington was also Schneider on One Day at a Time.
What?
Remember that TV show? Not their Pat Harrington.
Not Pat Harrington in Essex. That's wild. Yeah. Oh my God. Pat Harrington and Randall Lane are the two names I remember. They both had the Boston Post game.
Yeah. Cool stuff. All right. Have a great week, Eric. We'll catch up with you.
Great to see you.
Bye.